everybody. This is Brian with Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations. I was headed out to one of our farms, do a little rat killing, as Dad would say. And I've had a couple of people actually request that I do a little short video on my Dogman sighting that I had years ago. I think it was 2008. And so I thought I would take a little bit of time to do that today so I can show you guys where it happened and give you a good idea of what I saw. I don't like talking about it a whole lot because it is kind of a weird thing, and you know, at the time I didn't even know what I was looking at. I'd never even heard of a DM. So you know, for a long time I just thought it was some type of mutant dog or something that I'd seen. You know, you see, back in 2008, you know, you'd see these pictures on the internet. They'd take some little bitty tiny woman and they would put this gigantic, you know, mutant dog that probably had a extra chromosome or something, so it grew to gigantic proportions. And, you know, they would take these pictures and you'd see this stuff on the internet. And at the time that I saw this thing, I just, you know, because you know your mind, it wants to put everything it sees in a box so it can categorize it, you know, and organize it and say this is what this is, you know. And a lot of times when you get into this cryptid stuff, this stuff don't fit in the box, you know. So anyway, I'm going to take you out to where I saw it. And a couple of months later, my brother and I were actually out there coyote hunting, doing a little predator hunting. And we had something come into the call that was very peculiar, and I'll walk you through that as well. Okay, so I'll get back with you as soon as we are there. All right, just got done with a phone call. Well, I am here, and I'm going to give you the view that I had that day. I've actually put off making this video until the middle of winter, so it'll be more like it was that day when I was here. Now, I'm going real slow right now, but I came through here probably doing 20 or 30 miles an hour, and you can see there's a little valley down here. And the animal in question was right over here, in close proximity to the second dead tree back there, but I couldn't see him here. Okay, so but as I came down here in my truck, had a little truck at the time, I came down through here, and I always look off into this little valley right here because it's, well, it's kind of a pretty little valley. And right over here, let me see if I can use the camera and touch my finger to the spot. That's where he was at. He was right over there. And I'm going to say that's 60, 70 yards, okay? 60 or 70 yards. Now, I just glanced over and I looked at him, and I just said to myself, that is a really big-ass dog. And as I turned my head back and looked back at the road, my mind was processing, okay? And my mind kind of said, hey, you know, that thing is 75 yards away. You know, how is it that big? And then I turned back and I looked at it, and you could see it running like back over there into there behind the cedar trees beside that contraption, whatever that is, okay? And at that point, you couldn't see anything except for kind of its tail section. It was quartering away from me, and it was on the move, okay? So how long did I actually lay eyes on it for? I'm going to say the first glance was about 2 full seconds. And then the second glance was 2 seconds. So 4 seconds. Okay. So, like I said, I'm heading back up the hill. Now, right about the time, and I was moving faster than this, of course, but about the time I got right in here somewhere, man, I just got this sense of dread. And as soon as that sense of dread kind of came over me, now I wouldn't say like it, and I'm not saying that whatever that thing was, that it was zapping me or anything like that. I just got this overwhelming, oh my God, that thing is running around out here, And about the time I got up here to the top of the hill, I pulled over and I stopped. Believe it or not, the top of the hill right here is one of the few places where you can get a good clean, phone signal, especially back in '08, phone signals were even sketchier back then. But I stopped right here up on top of the hill, which, you can kind of see around. And I called my little brother, James, because my first thought was, my brother runs around out here in the middle of the damn night coon hunting. Something like that could really hurt him, or hurt his dogs. He's got coon dogs and whatnot. And, it just kind of bothered me. So I called my brother and told my brother what I'd seen. And he told me a little story about some weirdness that he had out here prior to that could have possibly been related. Something led his dogs on a goose chase of all goose chases. And but anyway, long story short, that was kind of what happened. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to know is details. What did it look like? How big was it? This kind of stuff. Okay, now, first and foremost, the thing didn't hold still for me to get a ruler on it or chase it around with a yardstick, This thing, I got the impression that it was unaware of my presence up until the point where my vehicle came into its view and I came into its view. And so when I first saw it there, it was up on that little cliff face right there. Not much of a cliff face, but it was facing east, down towards the valley. And, all the grass was dead, kind of like you just saw in the video. And the sun was out, and it was actually kind of a nice day. And he appeared to be, for lack of a better word, happy. He was kind of sitting there. It looked like he was soaking up the sunshine. And he was, my guess is, if I had to speculate, which, I'm not exactly, I'm not into the whole behaviorisms and stuff, but I know coyotes, And so if that was a coyote sitting up there, I'd say, well, he was watching that little valley for rabbits or mice or something like that, while he's soaking up the sun. That would make perfect sense. So I'm guessing that maybe that's what this guy was doing, just kind of sitting there soaking up the sun, watching for any game that might present itself, whatever. But he was just sitting there, and honestly, he kind of looked like he was happy. You know how when a dog's happy, they'll kind of open their mouth and they'll kind of do that thing when they're kind of cheesing a little bit. I didn't see any 4-inch fangs or anything like that. Couldn't really see that, but you could just kind of tell that you could see the hint of teeth in there, like he just kind of like smiling. And he was just kind of sitting there, and he was looking down over the valley, and he just kind of looked kind of regal sitting there in the sunlight. Now, details. Solid black, mostly. I'm going to say 95% black. There could have been some other tint in there, like maybe a little brown, maybe a little red. But, I'm not the best with colors, okay? So, but, he was 95% black for sure. Looked German Shepherdish, But the one thing that really sticks out to me, other than his size, which I'm going to address that right now, he was, I'm going to guess that he was probably, his head sitting down, you know, on all fours, would probably come up to my mid-torso. So I'm going to say almost 5 feet, you know, sitting down on its butt. You know, the head was probably 5 feet. Pretty big dog. Crazy big dog. Yeah. Well, anyway, it was big. That was the first thing I noticed right away. I also remember, the thing that I remember from the image that I have of him in my mind in that first glance that I saw him, was that he was very wide-chested, okay? You know how a lot of pit bulls, you know, their chest will be all muscled up like that, you know? And that's kind of what he looked like. His chest was real wide, but it was real hairy. You know, he had all this black fur everywhere, and, you know, and, but anyway, he was just real wide-chested, and his legs were kind of like spread apart, not like a wolf. Man, wolves, this honestly didn't look much like a wolf at all, guys. Wolves are kind of, I hate to say it, they're kind of scrawny looking when you really look at them. You know, their legs are real close together in the front, and they look skinny, especially when you're looking at them straight on. A lot of wolves, in my personal opinion, compared to domestic dogs, they look almost malnourished, you know. Big feet, you know, skinny legs, you know, skinny long body, you know, big head. This dog looked less like a wolf and more like a domestic dog, like a German Shepherd, except bigger chest, bigger body, bigger everything. And he appeared to be exceptionally hairy, really thick fur. Now, granted, it was winter time when I saw him, so I'm assuming he had a winter coat on. But that's what he looked like from the front. He didn't have an exceptionally long muzzle. He just looked, honestly, his head looked, just imagine a German Shepherd, extra fur. That's kind of what his face looked like. Now, I never saw him stand up and run on 2 legs. I never saw his hands. At the time, I didn't see anything that would lead me to believe that he was anything other than a giant dog. Okay, when he ran off on all fours. Now, as he was running, wasn't a whole lot of data there to be gained. One thing that did strike me about him running away was how exceptionally bushy and large his tail was. His tail was like poof. I mean, it was like a lot. I wish I had all that hair on his tail on my head. It was a big tail. And don't start trying to sell me that it was a Black Panther or some crap like that. I'm not that stupid. I know the difference between cats and dogs. I mean, I've killed many of them, okay? Well, I haven't killed any, you know, cougars, but I definitely know the difference. This was a big, hairy dog, exceptionally canine. But anyway, as he was running away, he was on the move, and he was moving. It didn't seem like to me that he was lightning fast or anything like that. He was just getting the hell out of there, you know, like a normal dog. I had never even heard of a DM. Had no idea that there was even such a thing. At the time, I was kind of a pseudo believer in Sasquatch, but I had never heard of a DM. Okay. For years, my brother and I just referred to it as the wolf dog. That was all we knew, you know. Kind of looked like a big wolf dog, you know. And we didn't even really look like a wolf. I just kind of attributed it with wolf characteristics because of its size. Didn't know what else to call it, you know. I mean, what do you call something like that? You know, I don't know. I have no idea. Knowing what I know now, okay, I hesitate to call it a dogman. To be truthful with you, what it really more or less lines up with, knowing what I know today, it's more like a dire wolf. Okay? Do a little bit of research. They were a real animal. They are extinct now. I don't know how big that, I'm not an expert or anything. But this dog, what did it weigh? I mean, you know as well as I do. How do you tell? I have seen 100-pound dogs many times in my life. I've seen 120-pound dogs. We're talking about a pretty big dog. This thing dwarfed a 120-pound dog. Okay, I'm gonna guess this thing was over 300. This thing was big, muscular, huge, tall. It was the real McCoy. This is the type of animal that could take out a pack of smaller, normal canine dogs. So yeah, I was intimidated. And then what happened to my brother and I a couple months later, we never saw what it was, but we suspected that that particular creature is what came into our coyote call. I'm going to take you over there now so you can see that. Well, this is the trail that my brother and I had to hike in to do our coyote hunting that day. As you can see, it's slightly woody. Still cracks me up that people all over the world, when they think of Northwest Oklahoma, they get this vision of open prairies in their head. As you can see, this is something up here. I don't know what that is. But as you can see, there's plenty of trees. So my deer stand is right up here. Okay, this is where we were hunting, and I was up in my tree stand, and I had some of that blinding stuff around there. We had set up the collar over here, okay, and it's a Fox Pro, and we even had like a little motion decoy. And my brother was in a tree, not exactly sure which one. I think it was either this tree or maybe that big tree right over here. That one or that one. He was in a ladder stand that we've since moved. But we started doing a little bit of calling, and I don't even think we'd been calling very long. And for the record, this way is north, okay? From the north, we heard this hell of a racket coming through the woods. I mean, it sounded like a steer or something, And this thing's coming through the woods, and it's making all this racket, which honestly is unusual. Coyotes will make racket coming through the woods at a dead run, but not this much. And whatever it was, I don't know if you can see, but right over here is like these 3 cedar trees, okay? And most of the time during deer season, those cedar trees serve me well because the deer can't see me in my deer stand until they come out here, and there's my shooting lane. whatever it was, come running up and stop just on the other side of those. And I swear I heard it, sniff the air, And my brother, he could see more than I could see, because he was actually facing that direction. He said he could see something through the cedar on the other side, but he couldn't see what it was. Whatever it was, took off hauling ass. Weird thing is, the wind was in our face. Whatever it was, it should not have been able to smell us. Okay? The wind was in our favor. So, whatever it was, I'm not going to say it was this or that, but whatever it was big, and somehow it knew that it was walking into a trap. Say what you want to say about that. But anyway, there you go. That's the second part. I don't even know if it was the same animal, but whatever it was pretty savvy. And I can tell you right now, if it was a steer, or if it was a cow that was coming to that call, sounded like a herd of something coming through the woods, it would have kept on coming. We would have seen it. It would have run into view, and but whatever it was very aware. And whatever it was, it busted us. It busted us good, and it shouldn't have. We should have got it, whatever it was. Well, there you go. You pretty much know as much as I do. Hopefully, making this video, I won't have to talk about it so much. I'm not like crap in my drawers or anything, but I don't know. Looking back on it now, when you realize what it was you were probably looking at, it does tend to bother you. Apparently it doesn't bother me that much because I'm out here by myself. But, there's a definite respect for whatever that is. It could get me. So, you got to be respectful. And it's always a good idea to carry a gun. So, if you have any questions, you can email me or message me or whatever. But remember, I only got like 4 seconds worth of look at it. I'm not going to have intricate details. I'm not going to be able to tell you what color its eyes were, that kind of crap. So I did my best to describe what I saw. And yeah, there you go. I'll catch you guys later. I want to add a little addendum to this video. That particular place where, family farm there, I'm going to say about 4 years ago, I was out on the north end of the place, and I found, at first what I thought was a armadillo hole down by the creek. When I got closer to inspect it, because I thought it was kind of strange that armadillos would dig a hole that close to the creek, I realized that it wasn't an armadillo hole at all. Is that something, in particular a tree, had been pulled up by the roots, and it just looked like something had, jerked the tree out of the ground. I looked around and the tree was gone. It was nowhere to be seen. And I looked at all the trees that were in the immediate vicinity, and these were all, 3-4 inch round trees. Maybe a couple of them were 2 inches around, but for the most part they were between 3 and 4 inches. And there was this big hole in the ground. You could see where the roots had broken off, and and it looked like to me that it had been several weeks, if not a month and a half, since whatever had pulled this thing out of the ground had done it. It was semi-fresh, but not fresh enough. I looked for tracks. my first thought was, Sasquatch come through here and pull the tree up out of the ground. That was the only explanation I could possibly come up with. I guess somebody could have, pulled up their Jeep up into the woods and strung out about, 200 foot of winch cable, wrapped around and pulled this tree up out of the ground in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods, just to weird people out. I guess it's possible, but no. I actually made a circle, started circling around looking for this tree that had been pulled up and uprooted, and I couldn't find it. I made a pretty big circle, and I covered several acres, and it was just gone. It had not been washed downstream or anything. It was just gone, plain flat out. So something pulled the tree up out of the ground. Anyway, whatever that's worth. I don't think that's a DM. I think that's more of a Bigfoot type creature. So anyway, that's a little addendum for that particular place. And about a year ago, I actually got a phone call from an old man who apparently back when he was a boy, I think he's probably 65, 70 now, when he was a boy, him and his buddies used to go out there to that same farm and fish. And him and a buddy of his got ran out of that particular place one night. They were out there catfishing at night, and he told me that there was something roaring in the woods to the south, kind of closer to where I was showing you where my deer stand was. And he said that whatever it was, it ran his bird dog out of the woods, and it chased whatever it was. It kind of chased them back up to their truck, and they got in their truck and they hauled ass. And he kind of jokingly said, we were so scared we left the gate open. So anyway, whatever that's worth, that was interesting. And the weird part about that story was he didn't even know that I do cryptid type investigations. I was talking to him about something completely unrelated, and he just kind of casually asked me, he said, you hunt out there? And I was like, yeah. And he just kind of real sheepishly, he asked me, he said, have you ever had anything weird happen out to you, out there? And I was like, yeah, we have. Yeah, that's what he told me his story. So another interesting matter of the fact, goofy scenario. So anyway, there you go.